Inspiration for recreating the Troy ride were lines describing the game of Troy from the Aeneid, Book 5, which were first written down by the Roman poet Publius Virgilius Maro, better known to the world as Virgil. Born of rustic stock near Mantua in Italy in 70 BC, the Aeneid was surely his greatest epic work. It recorded the wanderings of Aeneas following the Trojan Wars, which, according to Roman legend, led to the ultimate founding of Rome itself. Started around 30 BC and largely completed by 19 BC at the time of his death, Virgil had asked that the manuscript be destroyed in the event of his death, but Varius, his executor, under pressure from the Emperor Augustus, edited the work and ensured its publication and subsequent fame. The Lusus Troiae, or Trojan game, was supposedly first introduced by the Roman general and statesman Sulla around 80 BC, and revived by Julius Caesar in 45 or 46 BC, perhaps in connection with his family claim to have descended from Julius, the son of Aeneas. The Emperor Augustus, considered the first true emperor of the Roman Empire, ruled from 27 BC to his death in 14 AD, the time of the so-called Pax Romana. He was an important patron for Virgil, and subsequently established the Lusus Troiae as a regular event. Interestingly, coins issued in Crete during his reign occasionally featured the classical Cretan labyrinth on their reverse. The version of Aeneid Book 5 read here today narrating the ride is Jeff Soward's slightly adapted version of the Dryden edition. John Dryden translated, rendered Virgil in heroical verse and first published his work in 1697.
Aeneas and his fellow exiles, fleeing the sack of Troy, are banished to wander the Mediterranean Sea for 7 years. After many adventures and setbacks, they are driven by storms to the coast of Sicily, where, welcomed by King Acestes, himself of Trojan stock, Aeneas celebrates the memory of his father Anchises, the mortal husband of the goddess Aphrodite and the cousin of King Priam of Troy, by holding funeral games in his honor. Following a series of trials of strength and marksmanship, Aeneas announces a test of horse riding skill. Of arms I sing, and the man, who forced by fate and Juno's unrelenting hate, exiled left the Trojan shore. Long labors both by sea and land he bore, and in the doubtful war before he won the land and built the desolate town, his banished gods restored to rights divine, and settled sure succession for his line, from whence the race of Alba Longa come, and the walls of majestic Rome. Father Aeneas, before the games were wholly done, called Epitides, tutor to his son, and whispered thus, with speed Ascanius find, and if his childish troop be ready joined, on horseback let him grace his grandsire's day, and lead his equals armed in just array. So calling out, the circle he clears, the crowd withdrawn, an open plain appears. And now the noble youths of form divine advance before their fathers in a line. The riders grace the steeds with glory shine. Their helmets adorned with laurel wreaths they wear, each brandishing aloft 2 cornel spears. Some at their backs their gilded quivers bore, their chains of burnished gold hung down before. 3 graceful troops they formed upon the green, 3 graceful leaders at their heads were seen. 12 followed every chief, and left a space between. The first young Priam led, a lovely boy, whose grandsire was the unhappy king of Troy. His race in after times was known to fame. new honors adding to the Latian name. And well the royal boy his Thracian steed became, white were the fetlocks of his feet before, and on his front a snowy star he bore. Then beauteous Attis, with Julius bred, of equal age, the second squadron led. The last in order, but the first in place, first in the lovely features of his face, rode fair Ascanius, on a fiery steed, Queen Dido's gift, and of the Tyrian breed. Sure coursers for the rest the king ordains, with golden bits adorned and purple reins. The pleased spectators peals of shouts renew, and all the parents and the children view their make, their motions, and their sprightly grace, and hopes and fears alternate in their face. The unpledged commanders and their martial train first make the circuit of the sandy plain. Around their sires and at the appointed sign, drawn up in beauteous order, form a line. The second signal sounds, the troop divides, in distinguished parts with distinguished guides. Again they close, and once again disjoin, in troop to troop opposed, and line to line. They meet, they wheel, they throw their darts afar, with harmless rage and well-dissembled war. Then and around the mingled bodies run, flying they follow, and pursuing shun. Broken they break, and rallying they renew in other forms the military show. At last, in order undiscerned they join, and march together in a friendly line. And as the Cretan labyrinth of old, with wandering ways and many a winding fold, involved the weary feet without redress, in a round arrow which denied recess, so fought the Trojan boys in warlike play, return, and still a different way. Thus dolphins in the deep each other chase, in circles as they swing around the watery race. This game, these carousels, Ascanius taught, and building Alba Longa to the Latin throne. Showed what he learned, the Latin sires impart, to their succeeding sons the graceful art. From these imperial Rome received the game, which Troy, the Greeks, the Trojans,
The connection between the Lusus Troy, the Trojan game, and the labyrinth is often traced back to the famous Tragliatella vase, a 7th century Etruscan wine jug, which depicts mounted youths emerging from the labyrinth bearing the legend Troia, one possible meaning of which is Troy. Virgil explicitly compares the patterns of the drill to the Cretan labyrinth. Labyrinths were used to train warriors and horses in trials of strength and marksmanship. The next ride is a test of horse riding skill. In Virgil's words,
so intricate, in ancient times on mountainous Crete, they say, the labyrinth between walls and the dark ran crisscross a bewildering 1,000 ways. Devised by guile, a maze insoluble, breaking down every clue to the way out. So intricate the drill of Trojan boys, who wove the patterns of their prancing horses, figured in sports, retreats, and skirmishes. With speed Ascanius find, and if his troop be ready joined, on horseback let him grace his grandsire's day. The first young Priam led, a lovely boy, and well the royal boy his Thracian steed became. White were the fetlocks of his feet before, and on his front a snowy star he bore. The last in order, but the first in place. First in the lovely features of his face rode fair Ascanius, on a fiery steed, Queen Dido's gift, and of the Tyrian breed. So fought the Trojan boys in warlike play, turned and returned, and still a different way. The riders graced the steeds with glory shone. Thus marching on in military pride, shouts of applause resound from side to side.